Hello, everyone. My interest in ocean and marine life has become a recurring subject in my personal reflections as well as my artistic practice. In 2019, while on an artist residency in Jamaica, I created a permanent underwater sculpture park in the East Portland Fish Sanctuary, commissioned by TBA 21 Academy with Alligator Head Marine Lab. It was designed as a monument for marine protection and is a tribute to the collective effort of the local community to restore the ecosystem. The sculpture gave new life to the reef and support local regrowth as they are overlaid with coral over the coming years. There is some irony seeing a cactus on the seafloor. Cactuses represent the arid terrain of the desert and symbolize for me a potential future version of the Earth on land and sea. In this way, placing cactuses on the seabed creates a rupture while also conjuring quite an emotional reaction. It's important to me that the underwater sculpture park is visible and accessible. So we have made sure that the sculpture were not installed too deep. They can be reached by divers, snorkelers, and seen from glass-bottom boats. While the sculptures function as artworks, they are something to be viewed and hopefully contemplated. They also do something else in the world, something practical with a direct positive effect on the environment. In Jamaica, I spent 2 months at the Alligator Head Foundation as a fellow of the TBA 21 Academy. The Academy brings together scientists, writers, thinkers, and artists, and instigates intersectional and collaborative research, artistic production, and new forms of knowledge, investigating environmental injustice against the ocean through the lens of art. So yeah, we set up an outdoor studio on the premises of the Alligator Head Marine Lab, and I had the opportunity to work alongside marine biologists, conservation and coral reef specialists, as well as nature wardens. The foundation manages a 6 square kilometer large marine protected area in East Portland. The lab is dedicated to the recovery of fish stocks, improving coral growth, and the overall biodiversity in the region protected waters. Here we can see the production of the wooden sculptures on site at the foundation. Influenced by the myriad of coral species and their strange alien forms, I set out to produce a body of coral-shaped sculpture made from ecological sourced tropical woods, such as almond, dogwood, or guinea wood. The sculpture are formal representation of a few different species of coral that I observed while diving in Jamaica. They include fire coral, this is an elkhorn or branching coral, a soft coral, a sun coral, or, for example, a sponge. This month, I opened an exhibition in my gallery in Berlin, König Gallery, that includes a selection of the coral sculpture titled Jungle and Corals. In May, I will present the entire body of wood sculpture produced in Jamaica in a major solo exhibition that envisions an immersive underwater landscapes at the Thyssen-Bornemisza Museum, Madrid, curated by Chus Martinez. The exhibition in Berlin also includes 4 paintings that merge figuration and abstraction into an image split into 8 panel canvases. Geometrical patterns interacting with the depictions of landscapes inspired by the graphic works of André Franquin, the Belgian artist and author of some of my most loved comic books growing up, such as Marsupilami, Spirou and Fantasio, or Gaston Lagaffe. These paintings are a series of 9 in total and combine 3 patterns using curves, stripes, and dots, and 3 colors, magenta, cyan, and green. I produced these paintings during the first lockdown last year. They are also the first works I made in my new studio in Benville, the countryside just outside of Basel. While in lockdown, I felt very lucky to live in a house surrounded by nature and in relative isolation. During this time, while in lockdown in spring and while making these paintings, I found myself more observant when going on my daily walks. I love to visit the tadpoles in our pond or and all the microorganisms thriving in and around the water. Every day I would go for walks in our garden and the surrounding forest. For me, that's been a continual source of mental and physical nourishment during this past year. I often talk about having grown up in a chalet when speaking about my work. Now, after 20 years since having left home, it is still a place that I constantly go back to, and it influences my work today and probably in the end defines the very nature of what I do. Childhood memories included growing up around lots of animals, being near nature, enjoying going to the local festivities such as La Fête du Village and much more. Today, ecologically sourced wood, often from sustainable forest found in and around my village of Grancy, has become my primary medium from which I carve abstract form. Fallen tree trunks are often brought to my attention by people in my community who need old trees removed or being naturally felled. Originally, the cactus form that were planted in the seabed in Jamaica were produced in the countryside of my hometown. The production of my chainsaw sculptures are usually produced outdoors in nature with a team of assistants. My sculptural process begins by roughly carving shapes with a chainsaw, a tool not known for its precision but rather for its expediency and force. The finished sculpture retain none of the marks and imperfections of the chainsaw. They are smooth and glisten to reveal the intricacies of the wood's hidden grain. This approach links to my work to a wider interest in forest ecology and biodiversity, which I like to evoke through play, connection, and touch. These wooden cactus sculptures were shown at the Kunstmuseum in Lucerne. The tallest is about 4 meters high, and they are all made from oak. Wood is full of life. It cracks as if it were breathing. Depending on the season, it might crack more, and wood is warm. In contrast, marble is cold. It's ancient and extremely hard. The tools required for working with marble are twice as big than what needed for woodwork. However, the way of working is similar. The material is removed, a form is found. Whether made by hand or machine, I don't prescribe a hierarchy. What is important to me is learning how to see and convey in every object or pattern an environment and the condition of our planet. The sculptures I make in marble, bronze, and ceramic are often reproduction of sculptures I have initially made from wood. Once a wooden sculpture is completed, I then have the sculpture 3D scanned, and from there I'm able to scale the object and reproduce it in another material. In 2017, the family of 9 cactuses you see here, rendered in marble, were shown together at the Sculpture Park, Köln. Reproducing a sculpture I have made by hand into a traditional material using high-tech methods like 3D scanning and milling blocks is a major part of my creative and conceptual process. Marble is a material that interests me a lot. It signifies antiquity and stability. It also comes from the ocean, the white parts being shells and therefore animals. The gray and black parts can be also minerals. I feel very fortunate to have the opportunity to make sculpture with materials that have so much life and history. I'm interested in seeing what happens to the original form once rendered anew in marble, for example, and how this material with its particular signifiers, antiquity, permanent strength, might give the object new significance. The installation you see here is titled I Have Grown Taller from Standing with Trees. It was installed in 2019 at the Copenhagen Contemporary, and it is very much about the intelligence of nature. In 2015, I had the chance to participate to a residency in Russia where I followed dendrochronologists as they collected data from trees in the Ural Mountains. Part of their research work was to recreate a total view of the climate since the last ice age, about 11,000 years ago. Witnessing their complete and consuming devotion to this cause, working in the field day in and day out, was really a life-changing experience for me. I learned that the life of a tree is very complex. So too is taking care of the wood once a tree has been felled. The correct way to cut the tree, for example, in which direction and when to cut the trunk is all part of my research. These questions were quite integral when I first started to work with wood. I only wish to continue learning and gain a deeper, more acute understanding of this material. With that being said, I have met so many lumberjack, cabinet maker, carpenter, and forest ranger over the years, from whom I learned that it is quite impossible to possess a complete knowledge of this material, precisely because it is so vast. To me, this conjures a very nice metaphor about life. It's a process impossible to control totally, like the passing time or the changing of the wind. Many of my projects that incorporates tree trunks, such as this installation in 2018 at König Gallery titled When Dinosaurs Rule the Earth, as well as the exhibition at Copenhagen Contemporary. Or the palindrome text sculpture like Ha Ha Ha, all refer back to this experience with dendrochronologists in the Ural Mountains and the various craft people I've met who are deeply engaged in working with wood. The wall painting project as well I have worked on over the years and their various patterns are attempts at representation of the metamorphosis of life. They show systems of belonging and being. The patterns emerge for me as translation of geometries that are always already present in nature, such as the conical shape of a shell, a pine cone, or petal formation, for example. The process of precisely and carefully transferring that pattern by painting onto the surface of an entire wall means that the painting becomes part of the wall itself, then also the room and the building, and so on. This is an installation that is still on view at the Castello di Rivoli and is entitled How to Grow and Still Stay the Same Shape. Here as well, this exhibition is currently installed at the Kunstraum Dornbirn in Austria, and it consists of two elements, 40 marble sculptures in the shape of aluminum drinking cans, and a large sail suspended from the ceiling that features an extract from marine biologist Rachel Carson's book, The Sea Around Us. Each can is unique. I hand-formed and crushed each one to be digitally scanned and then milled from a block of marble by a machine. For me, it became quite a confounding exercise because these marble sculptures turn out to be very beautiful to look at. And yet, of course, what they ultimately embody is an extremely negative idea of human industrial production. A year ago, I bought a house with my partner Samuel and Verbier and our newborn son Kai in the countryside outside of Basel. The house is self-sustainable. It is run on solar energy, has its own water source, biotop, and has a natural insulation made of sheep wool and garden roof. Of course, when there is not enough electrical power, the house is heated by natural wood chip. The place is an ecological wonder built by a visionary couple in the early 90s and has won several energy prizes for how they fuse different energy production. With this house comes much responsibility and constant attention and care. It has helped me live my daily life with less pollution, less plastic, and more awareness of the excesses of consumption and waste we generally produce and consume. In the house, we need to be very careful with how much water we consume, otherwise we run out. You learn that with every flush of the toilet, we run 9 liters of consumable water down the drain, which is extremely wasteful. I am learning now to be more careful about what products we use, since everything we flush down ends up in our garden and pollutes the very environment we occupy. Things become more palpable and real day in and day out. Our home is built in a traditional round log method specific to Scandinavia, but can also be found in Southern America or Southern US states. Lets animal and air pass through the space quite easily. But the thing which is even more beautiful than the house is the garden and its environment. all grown in a permaculture method. The former owner planted all indigenous wild healing plants and created small piles of wood, stone, or other material for all sorts of animals to find refuge in and under. My studio is located in a converted sheep barn where both my painting and woodwork can be produced. On the 3rd of October 2020, we had our grand opening, showing a larger public the first part of my finished studio and the exhibition space that my partner runs, Country Salts, where of course we curated the first show together. Here are some views from the opening. We were lucky to be between the first and the second wave of the pandemic. Numbers were low right then, and people rejoiced in venturing into the countryside for a well-deserved distraction and to see how art and nature can start living and working together. Here, this is a new series of wood-milled snake sculpture that I'm in the middle of working on. This is some 6,000 years old wood trunks from the bottom of a Swiss lake. The Swiss team of dendrochronologists gave this piece to me. A view from the painting side of the studio into the wood workshop. In the still unfinished part of the studio, we installed a zigzag bar that I made once for a site-specific commission for the Musée Cantonal des Beaux-Arts in Lausanne. And here we showed some film of mine and enjoyed the juju cocktail from my accountant, aka bartender at night. The view from the Oberbasel-Beet, where our home is located, into the northern part of Switzerland, across the border into the German Black Forest, is stunning. We were not aware that there are so many rolling hills just outside of Basel, which is usually considered a very flat part of Switzerland. Here in the image, you also see a large coral-shaped marble sculpture, which I made in preparation of the upcoming Motier Outdoor Sculpture Show. It was postponed to next year, so we decided to install it here in the meantime. At our opening day, we had around 350 guests coming through a slotted registration system, with a shuttle from the little nearby city of Sissach, where the nearest train stops. It was a wonderful first project and really a great success. Samuel Lundberger, my partner, who operates the contemporary art space Salz in Birsfelden, Basel, has opened the second space, Country Salt, on the property in the former tool and tractor hangar. Last year, we opened the space with an exhibition that celebrates the countryside titled "This Morning in the Sweet Torpor of the Great Forest is Like Every Morning in the World." It included works by Ugo Rondinone, Peter Zumthor, Violetta Burkhardt, Solange Pessoa, and me, where I contributed with a new wall painting work, which was based on an interview I did with the older Swiss painter called Pietro Sarto about the influences of the Swiss mountains in artist work, when I graduated from the art school ECAL in 2007. Here, you can see a rare model of Peter Zumthor made of wax, an unrealized chamber music hotel in the Swiss mountains, with my wall painting in the background. This is a Solange Pessoa bas relief ceramic sculpture. Elise Corpato, who just graduated from the Institut Kunst in Basel a month earlier. And the Ugo Rondinone in the background of a yet unseen work of his, and in the foreground, a very moving black grape and bronze installation by Solange Pessoa. An outdoor picture, the structure of the barn studio disappearing into the landscape, and people moving underneath the weeping willow before arriving at the house. Any time of the day, the place seduces by its natural setting, and together with Samuel, we are working on developing a larger vision for the property that incorporates our work, the natural environment, and the community. Thank you.